Today I saw the news in horror like everybody else saw the news in horror, but this week we are gonna get the black affix. As you guys know, every lockout, one of the affixes is gonna randomly be the bonus affix. And that's the affix you gotta do to get the extra loot, which is, if I recall correctly, about 5 items worth of extra loot. It's a little complicated because there's 2 chests that this affects. The first week it was the blue one, the second week it was the green one, I think. We always do those anyway. And this week is actually the black one, and that's how you know it's really trouble, because the black one has new different mechanics for every fight. And that makes the black affix the hardest affix in the raid for most people, because they gotta learn how to do it. So I figured, just because I am gonna have to look at it, I'm gonna have to figure it out for Saturday, I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna get on it and we're gonna figure out how to do the black affix. And this is courtesy of the same guy that I linked you in my previous Blackwing Lair video. This is a guy that a Reddit user posted. I still got no idea who he is, and they won't come out of it. I don't know if they even wanna make it public who they are. And I think they worked at Questy. It's still a little dubious. It doesn't really matter. I'm gonna drop the link to this guide in the description so you can follow along. But they do an excellent job at describing all the black affix changes, and we're gonna have to take a look at those. Now, the first fight in Blackwing Lair is Oror. Very simple fight, you know, you mind control, you kill the X, so on and so forth, it's over, right? Well, Oror has a new mechanic, and it's a pain in the butt in the black affix. And basically, once you kill 10 eggs, you gotta kill 30 eggs in the fight, you're gonna get the unstable chromatic drake. That's something that we saw on the first week of the world first race, and it kind of bugged out the raid. They had to change the affix to get through it, but the unstable chromatic drake is the one from the big dragon that appears mysteriously, and he's gonna be just a simple another ad. They're gonna be really hard. You're gonna need enough time to pick it up. That's something you need for the ads anyway, so what you wanna do is just AoE everything. You wanna clip with the ads, you wanna clip with the drake, and what I recommend you to do actually is to tank the unstable chromatic drake and use your mid hook if you're a warrior, of course, to pull more ads into the drake so everybody else can AoE and clip. The chromatic drake gotta die before Oror comes out, because you cannot really tank 2 bosses at the same time. Oror has the fear mechanic. If you get flipped over at the wrong time and you get hit by both, you're gonna die. So it is a problem, but it is not a huge problem. That's gonna be the first mechanic, and that's probably the easiest out of them all. And that's saying something, because then you got Belstras. Now, Belstras is a really tight DPS check. Well, not really anymore, but it's still super annoying. Most people get stuck at Belstras. The mechanic of Belstras is that he eventually kills the tank, and you gotta do a tank swap, and there is no taunts, so it's kinda scary. You know Belstras. Now, the mechanic for the black trial on Belstras is not something that changes the fight. It is basically you mess up once and you die kind of fight. Well, you guys know Burning Adrenaline is a buff that you get that gives you damage and you eventually die from it because it's a dot, right? If you got that debuff and you are first in threat, so that's the tank, you get rooted in place, and that's fine and dandy. That doesn't change anything, right? Like, the tank is not gonna move anyway. But this is actually a problem for the tank swap. If you unboon, we tried this actually. If you unboon in Belstras, you can probably just clear it just fine without a tank swap. You got the damage to do it with wall buffs. You might need to rotate a pain suppression or a bark skin, and that way you can survive the Belstras with a single tank before the tank dies. You can kill him. But the problem is that if a tank does die, it is most likely gonna go to another person that has the Burning Adrenaline debuff, because the Burning Adrenaline debuff, as I said, gives you a lot of damage, and of course, if you got a lot of damage, you're gonna pull threat after that, right? You're second in threat. Now, I don't have a great solution for a raid that doesn't have the damage, honestly. But I think I kinda worked it out, and it is basically something similar to this diagram. As you can see right there, the tank is at the front, he's facing the throne, the little throne they got. The raid is at the side. I realized I should get here to show it a little better. Okay, so this is the tank, the main tank. We're gonna call him Tank 1, and we're gonna copy this guy, and we're gonna make this beautiful other tank. We're gonna call him Johnny. No, I'm kidding you guys. Okay, this is gonna be the off tank. We're gonna make him blue color, so that's like cute, you know. Now off tank number 2, right? He's gonna be about here, and he's gonna be in this side. As you can see, The DPSers are all on the other side and the off tank is here. If the main tank dies, what's gonna happen is the following. The tank is dead, and what Belstras is gonna do is he's gonna flip like this. He's gonna go against this off tank. And as you can see, you can already see the problem, okay? You see how this pull it out, pull it in, pull it out, pull it in. The tail swipe is gonna hit the raid. And that, of course, is a very big problem because they are all there. Hopefully the healers are not close to danger here, and like at least you got one healer on the tank while everybody gets swiped. You can kinda see it coming and move, but what the raid is gonna have to do, they're gonna have to flip over. They're gonna have to get this side, like this. So the raid is gonna have to rotate 90 degrees. That's basically what happens if you get the black affix. It is not the end of the world, but I heavily recommend you guys to just honestly unboon for this fight. You really don't want to do this swap. So many things can go wrong. All it takes is one guy to do the adrenaline wrong and everybody dies. It's just give it one shot without a boon, and then the second shot just give it an unboon and go at it if you cannot kill it without wall buffs. This is definitely a fight that you want to brute force with damage when it comes to the black affix. But yes, that's the more fancy way of doing this fight, I guess. Now the Brute Lord Lash Lair is gonna be one of the hardest fights in the black affix, because that includes your favorite, of course, I am sure, your favorite mechanic, the Depression Chamber, is gonna be involved in this fight with the black affix. As you guys know, you gotta fight through the Depression Chamber to get to him, and then you fight him on a safe spot, okay? Here's the problem. When he gets below 50%, he's gonna teleport, and he's gonna teleport to the other side of the room. Let me show you. I am going to borrow the footage from K Super 2. He is one of the raiders in Fake Fresh, you know, one of the world first racers, and I am taking his footage because I never did this affix before. We're gonna have to take him as the reference. I'm gonna link him in the description if you wanna check him out. Heavily recommend you do if you're a hunter. This is one of the best hunters in the world. Anyway, it goes nice and dandy. They are down in the boss. They gotta get him to 50%. That's when it happens. And right there, you see that? It's actually pretty close, okay? They knew about this mechanic. We're gonna take a close look at the minimap right there. This is your goal. You may have a hard time telling where he's tanking it exactly, but then let me help you with that. This is the side that you enter to the room where he is. Like, you know how there's like one part of the Depression Chamber, there's a flight of stairs, and then you climb up and there's the other room, right? This is the very start of the second room where he's tanking it. And that, of course, brings a very big problem. How do you get to pulling him so you can tank him there? Because this is where you want to tank him, so when he teleports, you don't have to move across the room and fight through the trash again, because that's a wipe. There is simply no good answer here. What you gotta do is clear all the way there, then you wanna clear all the way to him in a straight line. You wanna clear the room around this little area. You can never be too safe when it comes to clearing trash here. And then you wanna have a hunter or something like that pull him so it can come to you, and you wanna tank him in this spot. And you probably wanna clear to the sides here. Let me mark that down. There is a side here and there is a side here. You really wanna be careful on that. You wanna clear both sides, because the raid is gonna be against this wall over here. The boss is this red dot over here, of course. I'm gonna draw a little crown on him so you know. Haha, he's evil. And the tank is gonna be facing him away from the raid. So the tank is gonna be here. And if he gets knocked back and this pack is not cleared, that's a wipe. That's a wipe. So you wanna clear that side too. And the other mechanic from this, which makes everything so much worse, is that he's gonna do a global knockback to the melees the whole time as well. So the melee is also gotta be careful to be against the wall so they don't die. In my opinion, one of the hardest fights for the black affix. It is crazy how well the top guilds make it look easy. It is not easy. It is not easy at all to do this. And I am fearful that this may very well be the breaking point for my run this week, where we're gonna have to look at it and we're gonna have to go, gee, I guess we're not doing the black affix this week, just because of that. That would suck. I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna give it a try. That would freaking suck. But this is gonna be one of the hardest bosses for everybody. They really went out of their way to make this boss impossible, in my opinion. And it is double painful, because if you wipe, you gotta do the Depression Chamber again. That's like 20 minutes gone. It is really stupid. It is very stupid. Very well, Firemo. It is super short and easy. He's gonna do global nature damage every so often. That's it. As I told you in my previous previous video, get nature protection potions, greater nature protection potions. If you got a hunter or shaman totems for nature resistance, you wanna get those totems out too. You wanna get that aspect tag too if you can do that. So that's pretty much it. That's just a little more burden on your healers, nothing too crazy. If you can kill Fire Mo without this affix, you can definitely clear it with this affix. It doesn't change much. Now for Flame Gore and Ebon Rock, okay, this is one of the hardest bosses currently in Blackwing Lair for any affix. I heavily recommend you get DBM because DBM supports this mechanic now, and that's very important that you get a warning on this. This is pretty much the mechanic of Shade of Faran. If you remember TBC, Karasan, the Medivh's father, he did this thing where, I forgot the name, the fire thing, but if you move when this thing is going on, you get damaged. That's called stop. So when your DBM tells you not to move, you better not move. I am sure if you got Fogies or something, it's also gonna tell you, I don't have Fogies. And after the stop goes off, there's gonna be a second mechanic called go, where it is the opposite and you gotta just move. Once again, your DBM is gonna tell you, it is not the end of the world, it is not like it's gonna ruin you, this mechanic is not too bad, but you really don't want to have it happen on the middle of a swap. If the middle of a swap happens and you cannot move, you're kinda freaking screwed, brother. I recommend you swap a little earlier than usual just to make sure it doesn't happen. I don't know if that's gonna be a problem for us, because we run a warrior, and if you got a warrior or a druid or maybe a rogue, something with very high mobility, the advantage that you got doing that is that you can just charge to the other guy and the swap is a lot shorter, so the movement is not necessarily a big problem. As a matter of fact, aside from having to have your raid move or stop, which is gonna be a challenge, this is definitely gonna be a challenge to get everybody in the raid to know this before you pull and to pay attention. As far as the actual mechanics of the fight go, you do everything almost the same, and I guess that's pretty cool. Of course, if you're the tank, you gotta do like this little wiggle like this. I don't have a shield, okay, but you know what I mean? You crab walk from one side to the other, you keep strafing, and that way you can get the go mechanic going, because you also gotta move if you're the tank, okay? But you don't want to move back and forth because you're gonna kill everybody. You want to do like a little crab walk like this. Alio, 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 alio. Now for Chromagus, this guy is very easy without the black affix. There is 3 changes you're gonna see. First of all, he's gonna do the breaths, you know, the little mechanic where he does damage to the raid, and sometimes you gotta do the sand if you get the CC thingy. Very easy to deal with. He just does it a little more often, nothing too crazy. But he's also gonna CC a random player a couple times during the fight. That's like the grabbing from the, what's the name of that? The crowd pummeler in Omeregan, you remember that guy? Well, the same mechanic. And the other mechanic is that below 50% HP, there's gonna be meteors falling down the ground and you gotta dodge them. This fight should still be pretty easy. I wouldn't worry about it one bit, but it is gonna be a little harder, I guess. Nothing I would worry about. Now, Nefarian, Nefarian is a problem because every class call has a new mechanic with the black affix, and that I just hate this affix so much. How come a single one of the affixes gets to cause all the wipes in this lockout? Okay, I'm gonna try to explain the class calls. There is gonna be roots in the entire zone on Nefarian, and you're gonna have to dodge them or they root you, and that's usually bad because, as you're gonna see right now, there is gonna be a lot more situations where moving is advisable to you, or you get your poop pushed a little deeper in you. That's what's gonna happen if you don't move. The warrior class call is that there is gonna be 2 swords and they're gonna chase people and they're gonna try to kill you, and you gotta move away from the swords or they kill you, like Prince Malkezar. You remember that guy in TBC? Like that. The mage class call is that there is gonna be arcane explosions happening on the battlefield and you gotta dodge those too. You gotta move away from them, like Shashra. The priest class call is that they're gonna cast Mind Flay on people sometimes, and I mean, that's not something you can avoid. You gotta heal through it, you gotta live through it. It is not the end of the world, but you're gonna get a lot more damage to the raid. A random person, you gotta make sure that they are up. That's for the healers to pay attention to. The rogue class call is very similar to the warrior one, where they are gonna be having daggers running around and you gotta move away from them. And the hunter one is kinda cool. They do a laser beam in front of them and you gotta dodge the laser, kinda like the Sinestra fight in Blackwing Descent, if you remember that one. The warlock class call is gonna drop dead coil projectiles. They are like a dark green color and they just drop down and you gotta move away from those two. As you can see, they are all about moving away. They are kinda redundant. The paladin class call is there's gonna be consecrates on the ground, like the fight Agaman and Ogomon. That guy in Sunken Temple, you remember that guy? The same. And the Shaman class calls there is gonna be 2 balls, and if you're in between those 2 balls, you're gonna die because they are gonna do an arc in between them, so you gotta move away from the balls. You don't wanna be near balls. Nefarian is gonna be a complication. Nefarian is definitely gonna be what I would call a big old problem. I would say the only 2 that are like really concerning is gonna be definitely Broodlord. Broodlord is gonna be a huge problem. I am terrified of him. And he's probably gonna be the reason that we gotta go back to 2 affixes for this week, and that would freaking suck. And of course the second one that we're gonna have to worry about is Nefarian. There is so much that can go wrong in that fight. The wrong guy gets rooted and he cannot move out and he dies. That can cause a chain effect. What if the tank gets damaged? What if you get like a 2 healers in a row that get hit by something? There is a lot of things that can go wrong on that fight, and I am very worried about it. Hopefully that's not gonna happen. But you know Medina, and you know what them thing, and this is that when something can go wrong, for Medina, it always goes wrong. That's Medina's law. But if you're brave enough and you want to raid with us, we're going to be doing a raid with the chat on Saturday, 4 p.m. EST, Crusader Strike US. So if you want to join the Discord, and be mindful that we might have to take off the black affix. I am not proud of it, but that's something we might have to do this week. Otherwise, subscribe, join the Discord, and thank you for watching.